Midwest University is coming up. It's one of our big events. It's going to be March 18th and 19th at the Mystic Lake Hotel and Casino in Prior Lake, Minnesota. Register by January 31st and you can save $100. If you're an ATG Autodesk customer, you can get an additional $100 in savings. All you need to do is contact your account executive to ask about the discount. Now, we have over 140 different class options that you can attend. You can earn AIA CE credits from industry experts, and this is one of the biggest AEC events in the Midwest. If you'd like to get some more information about that, please go to midwest-u.com. And now, let's begin the webinar. So, my name is Jason Wakefield. I'm a technical support specialist here at ATG, and we are going to be going over the overview of the new user management and Autodesk accounts. Now, as some of you may know, and I'm hoping that most of the people who are sitting in on this webinar are either contract managers or software coordinators, because they're going to be the only people who would be noticing the change in your Autodesk account under user management. So right now, you may have either by user, by product, and classic user management. You may just have by user and by product, or it may just say user management. So it really depends on how the software that you own is activated on where you're going to need to go in the Autodesk account to add user profiles and assign software to them. So Autodesk about a year ago changed the way that the standalone seats are activated. They hadn't make any change to the network stuff. You still got to get a license file from us, or you can make one yourself through your Autodesk account. But now the standalone software is activated by a user sign-in. Now, in order to assign the software that's sign-in activation, you have to go into the by user and by product tabs under the user management tab. Now, for the standalone software that is still activated with a serial number and product key, you are still going to manage your users and software assignments in that classic user management view. Now, how do we identify how your software is activated? So that's really simple. All you need to do is click on all products and services in your Autodesk account, and that will bring up a list of all the software that your company currently owns. Then all you need to do is click on that drop-down menu to the left of the name of the software, and then that will show you how it's going to be activated. If you see a serial number and a product key, then that software is going to be managed in that classic view. If you see a sign-in there instead of a serial number and activation, then that's going to be in the by user tab under user management. That's where you're going to go to set up the user profiles for the sign-in software, and that's how you're going to change software assignments. Now, in the new view, under by user, if you look at the screen, you'll see in the upper right be a button there that says add user. When you click that, it brings up a dialog box, and then you're going to put in the first name, last name, and email address. Now, the format on this is a bit different. What you're going to do, because it's just going to be the one box that you're going to be entering the information into, you're going to put in the first name, comma, space, last name, comma, space, then the user's email address linked to their Autodesk account, and then hit enter. Once you hit enter, all that information will go away. You'll just see the user's name surrounded in blue. And then once that happens, you can hit the send invite button. And then once that's done, you hit done, and then you'll see the user's tile appear on that list. Now, in order to remove users, if you look at the tiles, you'll see a little icon in the lower right. You click on that, and that's how you remove the users if they don't work at the company anymore, or they just don't need access to the software. You just want to get them off this list. So that's how you do all this in that new view. Now, the same thing in the classic view. It's pretty similar, but as you can see, the format's just a little bit different. Once you click that add button, you'll actually see different fields that you can fill in with that same information. So that you don't have to worry about the formatting or anything like that. You just fill in the boxes with the email address, the first name, and the last name, and then you hit save and continue. And then once you do that, it's going to add the user to the list, and then unless that box is unchecked where it says I'd like to assign products to the user, If you have that unchecked, it's just going to bring you back to the list of users. If you have that checked, it'll bring you automatically to that user's edit access, and you can start assigning software there, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Now, the same thing applies for the removing the users on this. What you'll do is when you'll see the name of the user listed, and if you look to the far right of their name, you'll see a little circle with an X in it. Now, and this is what we always recommend when you're unassigning software or removing a user, especially with removing a user. Make sure that you just unassign everything that was assigned to them before you remove the user, and this is in the by user and the classic user management, because it happens very rarely, but we do see this enough that I always tell customers this. If you don't remove everything and then just, or if you don't remove everything they're assigned to and go ahead and delete the user, now what it's supposed to do is if anything's assigned to them, it's supposed to automatically return it to your pool so that if you make another user, you'll have a free seat to assign to them. But sometimes the situation happens is what Autodesk calls a ghost user issue, where basically the seat goes away with the user profile, and we would have to contact the Autodesk Business Center, and then they would have to recreate the user's profile on their end so they can remove the seat, save it, and then they can remove the user, and the seat gets returned back to your pool. It doesn't happen very often, but it's happened often enough that I always recommend that you just unassign everything before you start removing user profiles. Now, there's one other thing they changed when they did this sign-in activation method. For the serial number that still, or for the software that still shows a serial number, in order to change the software coordinator for that software, you would have to contact support, and then we would make that change in Partner Center in your account for you. Now, with this new view, you can actually make as many of your users secondary admins or software coordinators as you want. By doing that, when they sign into their Autodesk accounts, they basically have all the same abilities as far as adding and removing users and assigning software as the contract manager does. But this is really simple. So all you got to do is you click on the user's tile, and then you'll see the drop-down menu under the name, and you just click that drop-down menu and select them as a secondary admin. And then all you got to do is click that back button once you've done that, and it'll go right back to the user list. Now, I think the reason they did this was to give the customers a bit more flexibility in being able to have multiple people in the office who can make all those changes to the user's access to their software if the contract manager isn't available or doesn't do the day-to-day just, keeping up with who's using what. So you guys now have the ability to do that yourself, but in the future, if you have sign-in activated software, we cannot change the software coordinator. That is something that the contract manager is going to have to do, but as you can see, it's pretty simple. Now we're going to go into assigning the software. Now, if you look, I used the same picture because what we're looking for is up there in the upper right. You click on the user's tile, and then you could change their either secondary admin, user, whatever you want. By default, it's going to be user. But then all you got to do to assign the software is just click on the check mark next to the name of the software that you want them to be able to use. Once you click on that check mark, you hit that back button, and then that's pretty much it. Now, and this goes with the classic view that we're going to talk about next, but whenever you make changes to someone's software assignment, what we always recommend is the users are going to get an email, whether you've unassigned a seat from them or assigned them a seat, they're going to get an email that says, like, your access or your permissions have changed from Autodesk. And so what I always tell people is when you make a software assignment change, have the user wait until they get that email from Autodesk, and that pretty much tells you that the changes made in the contract manager's account have updated on Autodesk servers, and then they should be able to get into their software after that. So I've seen it happen as quickly as 5 minutes. I've also seen it take as long as an hour for that email to go out. But I always tell my customers, just keep an eye out for the email. As soon as you get it, go ahead and try to launch your software or activate it, and if you just installed it. Now, The classic view, I'm sorry I couldn't really find an interesting picture for this, but what you're going to do in the classic view is find the name of the user, and then to the far right of the name, you're going to click on the button that says Edit Access, and then that's going to bring up this screen where you can assign perpetual product downloads, web support, but the main thing, the actual access to the software, you're going to look under Products and Services, and as you can see, you're going to find the name of the software that you want to assign the user. It'll let you know if there's any available seats, and like this image, if there isn't any, you'll see a 0 in red just to kind of warn you, hey, you don't have another seat of that particular software to assign to one of your users. And then all you got to do is click on that checkbox on the far right and then hit Save. It's going to take you back to the list of users. And then, like I said a minute ago, have them wait to get that email before they try to access their software, and then they should be good. Now, I wanted this webinar to be pretty short because I was kind of going over a lot of these account questions because of the new view that we've been getting a lot of. Autodesk made this change about a year ago, and they really they didn't send anything out like a big mass email or anything letting people know. It was kind of, you just had to really get on the Autodesk Knowledge Network and see for yourself. So now what I would like to do is, if anyone has any questions, I'd like to answer them because, like I said, I knew that getting through this information was going to be pretty quick, and I wanted to field some questions from you guys because we've had a lot of them. So if anyone has any questions, please just hit the chat box and let me know. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. You've got you know how to identify the activation method for the software now, which is going to be either the serial number and product key like it used to be, or the new sign-in method. I've showed you how to add users in the By User view. I've shown you how to promote your users to secondary admins if you want more than the contract manager to have the ability to update things in their Autodesk account. And then we've also talked about the classic view. So now let me look at some of these questions. Okay, how can let me start at the top. Okay, let's see, this is from Patrick Smith. How can I edit a user's name or Autodesk ID? I have one user with an incorrect name and ID, but their email is correct. Trying to think, you should be able to go into their settings and see if you can change it there. I know that should be what you need to do. I don't have my Autodesk account up in front of me, so I can't be like 100% tell you, but if you want, you can send me an email at jwakefield, that's JWAKEFIELD @atgusa.com, and this goes for anybody. I can give you a 100% answer on that if you'll just email me, and I can address that after the webinar is over, but I'm pretty sure they can change that in the settings of their personal Autodesk account, but I don't have that in front of me, so I don't want to say 100% that that's the case. Now it looks like, can you please explain and show when to use classic versus new again? Oh yeah, absolutely. Let me go back. Let me go back to the, let's see, we explain and show when to use classic versus new again. Let me go back to this one. Okay. So the main thing that we get a lot about this is that they'll see all their software and products and services, but when they go into the classic view, some of the software doesn't show up, and that's because if it's sign-in, it will only show up in the new view versus the classic view. So what you'll need to do is, like I said, once you get into your Autodesk account, by default, it should already be on the products and services. You click on the all products and services underneath that, and then just hit that drop-down arrow next to the software, and then it'll show you if it's activated with a serial number. If it is, there'll be a serial number and product key there. If it's activated by sign-in, it'll just say sign-in and nothing else. Now let me go answer the next one. Where's my mouse? Okay, so when I export a list of users, their names don't come across to the exported file. Okay, yeah, I definitely would want you to email me, Richard, after the webinar, because this sounds like it might be a support case that may need to get created. I really need to see what you were talking about. So if you could send me an email to that email address that I gave you guys, maybe throw a screenshot in there or send me the exported file and let me take a look. But like I said, if you just email me that information, if I think it's a support case that we need to file, I can certainly get that set up for you. Okay, and this one is Dave. Okay, so sorry if I missed this earlier. Can I assume that we can have users in both the Classic view as well as the new user management based on products? Right now we have everyone in Classic, but just renewed our BIM 360 and need to add users to that. Okay, yes, you are going to have two lists basically of users. You're going to have the list of the Classic view, and you're going to have a new list for the new view, the by user. Now, I have had some cases with Autodesk where initially you had all your users set up in the Classic view, and when all of a sudden some of your software became the sign-in activation, some people were having to set up all of their users again. Now, I did have a case a week ago where this person had never gone into the new by user view, but all the users from their Classic view were populated in the new view. Now, I had a case with Autodesk where I asked them that, and they said that they were going to be doing that in the future, but they couldn't give me any kind of time frame. So, but I've already seen my first account where Autodesk automatically migrated those users from the Classic view to the new view. So that makes me think they're working on this right now. It's kind of hit or miss if your company is going to be, if you're going to see that when you go to buy user, but I've already seen one, which makes me think they are most definitely working on that. But at the moment, yeah, if you've got all your users set up in Classic view, you're going to have to reset them all up and add their profiles back on the new view. But hopefully Autodesk gets that change going really quickly so we don't have to have a lot of customers who are having to redo their entire user list just so they can manage the sign-in software. Okay, can the same user be in both lists? Yes, they can. You can put the same users in the new by user view, set them up exactly like you had in the Classic view, and that way, if they're going to be switching your software assignments, you already have them in both views. So if you go ahead and set it up initially, you can save yourself the headache of having to do it later. Okay, can the same user be in both? Okay, yeah, the same question. I got the same question again. Yeah, you can have the same user in both views, and that's not a problem. It's just going to be because I know that I have seen some accounts where the software, like the AEC collection, is showing in the new view, so your user has to be assigned to that to have access to their software. But I've also seen it where that same user needs to have access to a BIM 360 design seat so they can work on a project. The BIM 360 design seats, some of them show in the Classic view. They're starting to migrate those to the new view, but that would be an instance where you would need to have the same user listed in both views so you can assign, like I said, with the BIM thing is more specific, but you assign them the software in one view and then their BIM access in the other. So that would be a scenario why you would want to have the same user in both views. Okay, that seems to be all the questions. And like I said, let me go back up to the export list. Yeah, Richard, email me at jwakefield@atgusa.com. And if you've got the exported file, just let me take a look at it. But that question sounds like that may be a support case in the making. So just email me, and then I'll take a look at what you send me. And if I need to create a case, I can certainly do that. And then one of our tech support guys will be getting a hold of you. And then let me see what the other one was. Oh, yeah, and that was Patrick. I would also want you to email me as well about how do you change the user's name or Autodesk account ID. Like I said, I'm pretty certain it's in the settings of their personal Autodesk account, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So I definitely want to give you the 100% right answer on that. So if you just email me when the webinar is over, I'll go ahead and look at that in my own personal Autodesk account and make sure that that was correct. But I will, like I said, I want to be 100% sure. So just email me with that information, and I will get back to you as soon as the webinar is over. Now, let's see. I don't see any new questions, so has everyone asked all the questions that they want to ask? I'll give it a couple seconds just while everybody types. I know I'm not the fastest typer in the world. Okay, yeah, it doesn't seem to be many questions. And like I said, this stuff is all pretty simple, but I think the main thing that we've been getting a lot of support cases about is people just kind of being confused about how do they identify in their Autodesk accounts whether the software falls under the classic or the new view. Just go to products and services, hit that drop down arrow, and you're going to have to do that on each individual software because we have been noticing that some of the, especially the people with multiple contracts in their account, the one contract, all the stuff will be signed in, but they have an old contract that probably still the serial number. So I've seen a lot of people that have a mix of both, so they are going to need to use both views. But as long as you just go to products and services, it's very easy to identify what the activation method is, and then that tells you which view you'll need to do or need to be in to assign your seats out to those users who need those seats. Okay. Okay, hold on, I got one more question. Let's see. Brett, got on about 10 minutes late, but assuming a recording will be emailed. I'm not sure if it'll be emailed out, but I know that we do record these, and it will be available. If you'll email me at jwakefield, that's JWAKEFIELD at atgusa.com, I can get you the answer to that. I think it's on our website, or it might be on our YouTube channel, but like I said, I can certainly find that answer out for you and email that back to you. So just email me just with that question, and then I'll figure that out for you, and I'll email you back after the webinar is over. Okay, was there any other additional questions? Okay, well, I think we about covered everything. So I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar. And for those of you that I asked to email me, please email me with all the information, and then I will get back to all of you. And for the changing the user's ID, just go ahead and email me, and I'll see if we need to file a support case for that or not. But I will certainly get back to you. So I'd just like to let everybody know, if you have any additional questions, you can always contact us. All of our support techs are very familiar with this new view now. We've been dealing with these for about a year, so we can pretty much answer any question you have Autodesk account related as far as the new and old view. And I will let all of you enjoy the rest of your lunch, and please contact support if you need any assistance with any of your Autodesk software. Thank you.